All right, so today we're going to be diving into something that I'm sure a lot of you are keeping an eye on,
Hmm.
and that is Reddit's financial performance over the past year.
Yeah.
You sent over a ton of interesting stuff, earnings reports, analyst predictions,
Hmm.
even some market comparisons. So let's unpack all this and see if we can understand what is
Ooh,
behind Reddit's recent success,
for sure.
and maybe even get a sense of where they might be headed.
Yeah, I think what's striking is just how dramatically things have changed for them. They went from kind of struggling to turn a profit to posting 2 consecutive quarters of positive earnings.
Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive turnaround.
Yeah, it definitely got my attention. I mean, in Q2 of 2024, their adjusted EBITDA was almost $40 million,
Oh,
and their net loss shrunk down to just $10 million. And
yeah.
for those who aren't familiar with the term adjusted EBITDA, it basically gives us a clear picture of a company's operating profitability by stripping away things like
Yeah,
interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
exactly. It helps to just cut through the noise
Yeah.
and focus on the core business performance. And to see their adjusted EBITDA margins jump to 14%,
Wow.
that shows they're becoming much more efficient at turning revenue into actual profit.
So they're not just bringing in more money, they're doing it in a smarter way.
Exactly.
But let's zoom in on that revenue explosion for a second.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, in Q2, their total revenue hit $281 million, a 54% increase
Wow.
compared to the same period last year. And then in Q3, it jumped to $348.4 million.
Jeez.
That's a 68% increase year over year.
Wow.
It's outpacing the growth of the entire industry.
Okay, so they're growing much faster than their competitors.
For sure.
That makes you wonder, what are they doing that others aren't?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
But if we look at the bigger picture,
Yeah.
Reddit's revenue has grown a whopping 145% over the past 3 years.
Wow.
Whatever they're doing, it seems to be working.
Some might say that level of growth is unsustainable, even risky.
Hmm.
What's your
Yeah.
take on that?
It's definitely something to watch. Rapid growth can sometimes lead to overvaluation and market corrections,
Sure.
but it's important to remember that Reddit has a unique position in the social media landscape.
Right, they've cultivated these highly engaged communities around specific interests,
Yeah.
and that's incredibly valuable to advertisers.
Absolutely.
Their advertising strategy seems to be a big part of this success story. I mean, they saw a 41% increase in ad revenue in Q2.
And then a 56% surge in Q3. We're
Guys.
constantly rolling out these new ad products and formats, search ads, video ads, dynamic product ads,
Right.
all designed to keep things fresh and appealing to advertisers.
Mm.
And it seems to be paying off.
Yeah, their average revenue per user, or ARPU, is really high, second only to Facebook.
It is.
That tells you something about the value they're offering.
Absolutely.
Mm.
But what's truly fascinating is the emergence of data licensing
Yeah.
as another
Right.
major revenue source for them.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting for me.
Yeah.
They're sitting on this gold mine of data, and they've started licensing it out to companies like Google and OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about how that works.
Well, Reddit's data is incredibly valuable for training AI models,
Right.
understanding online trends,
Yeah.
and conducting market research. In Q2, their other revenue category, which is mostly driven by these licensing deals,
Yeah.
skyrocketed by 690%.
Oh my goodness.
Some analysts believe this segment alone could generate up to $400 million in revenue over time.
That's incredible.
It is.
It's like discovering a whole new revenue stream they didn't even know they had.
Yeah.
But all this success has obviously attracted the attention of investors.
Of course.
So let's shift our focus to what the financial experts are predicting for Reddit's future.
Right. The anticipation is definitely building. Their next earnings reports is coming out soon.
Okay.
And analysts are projecting an EPS of $0.23 for the next quarter. That's a 43.75% jump from the previous quarter.
And they blew past everyone's expectations last quarter.
They did.
So who knows? Maybe they'll do it again. Yeah.
As for revenue, analysts are predicting it'll be around $402 million.
Wow.
Those are some pretty optimistic numbers, but do you think they're justified?
It's tough to say for sure. We've seen some interesting adjustments in analyst price targets.
Okay.
Citi raised theirs to $120.
Why?
Bank of America raised theirs to $50.
Hmm.
But the average 12-month price target is $137.24,
Interesting.
suggesting a potential decline from Reddit's current trading price, which is around $173.12.
So even though analysts are projecting strong growth,
Right.
some are thinking the stock might be a little overvalued right now.
Exactly. The market is always trying to anticipate the future, and sometimes it gets ahead of itself.
Yeah.
But let's not forget the long-term projections, which are still incredibly positive. Analysts are expecting Reddit's earnings to grow by an average of 71.4% annually over the next 3 years.
Wow.
And revenue is projected to grow by 23.8% per year during that same period.
So that's much faster than the broader industry,
Way faster.
which is only expected to grow at about half that rate. Yet, these projections definitely highlight Reddit's potential as a standout performer in the digital media landscape.
Absolutely.
But to really understand their position, we need to compare them to some of their peers.
Okay, let's see how they stack up. We already touched on their high ARPU.
Yeah.
But what about other metrics, like their price-to-sales ratio?
Well, Reddit's current price-to-sales ratio, or PS ratio,
Right.
is about 27.8x. Now, the PS ratio is basically a way to measure how much investors are willing to pay for each dollar of a company's sales.
Okay, so a high PS ratio usually means investors are really optimistic about future growth.
Exactly.
But how does Reddit's ratio compare to other companies in their space?
It's significantly higher than the average for their peer group.
Wow.
Companies like Baidu, Pinterest, and Snap,
Okay.
all considered to be in a similar space, have PS ratios of 1.7 by 5.8x and 3.6x respectively.
That's a huge difference.
It is,
So it suggests that investors are willing to pay a premium for Reddit's stock
for sure.
because they have high expectations for the company's future growth.
Exactly. They see the potential for Reddit to become a major player in the digital media world, and they're willing to pay a premium for a piece of that future.
So is it possible that investors are getting a little carried away?
Maybe.
Is there a risk that Reddit might not live up to these lofty expectations?
There's always a risk, especially in a fast-moving industry like this.
Of course.
But what's exciting about Reddit is that they're not afraid to experiment and try new things.
That's true.
They've shown a willingness to adapt and evolve, which is crucial in a dynamic market.
They have defied expectations before,
They have.
and they just might do it again.
Who knows?
It's a fascinating story to follow, and we've only just scratched the surface. Stay tuned, because in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore what all of this means for you, the listener, and we'll tackle some of the big questions about Reddit's future.
Yeah, it's certainly captivating to see a company kind of defy expectations the way Reddit has.
Right.
But as you mentioned, the real question is, what does all this mean for someone like you who's following their journey?
Yeah, exactly. We've gone through all these numbers and projections, but how can you, the listener, actually apply this knowledge? What should you be thinking about as you consider Reddit's place in the constantly evolving digital landscape?
Well, I think the most important takeaway here is that Reddit has emerged as a real contender in the tech world. You know, they've carved out this unique space for themselves in a fiercely competitive market, and they've done it by tapping into something really powerful, the sense of community.
Yeah, it's more than just a platform for memes and niche hobbies, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's this thriving ecosystem of passionate communities that are deeply invested in specific topics, and that's what's attracting both users and advertisers.
Precisely. And that leads to some pretty interesting questions. Can they keep this incredible momentum going? What kind of challenges might they face as they continue to grow?
Are there any potential roadblocks that could slow them down or even derail their success? I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the hype, but it's important to think critically about the long-term outlook.
Absolutely. And remember, the digital world is like this constantly shifting landscape.
Yeah.
New trends pop up all the time, consumer preferences change, and the competition is always fierce.
So how adaptable is Reddit? Can they stay ahead of the curve and keep innovating in ways that keep both users and advertisers engaged?
Yeah, those are the key qualities that separate the companies that flourish in the long run from those that fade away. You've got to be able to anticipate what's coming next and adapt quickly.
Do you think Reddit has what it takes to navigate these challenges? I mean, they've certainly demonstrated a willingness to experiment and push boundaries.
Yeah.
But the stakes are getting higher as they grow.
That's true. They're no longer the scrappy underdog.
Right.
They've become a major player.
Right.
And that comes with a whole new set of expectations and responsibilities.
For example, we've seen other social media giants struggle to find a balance between fostering a sense of community and monetizing their platform. How will Reddit handle that delicate balancing act?
Yeah, that's going to be a key challenge for them. Reddit's success has been built on the authenticity and passion of its communities. If they start to prioritize profits over people, They risk alienating their user base and losing what makes them special.
It's a tightrope walk for sure.
It
They
is?
need to generate revenue to keep growing and innovating, but they also need to stay true to their roots.
Exactly. And they need to do it all while navigating a rapidly evolving regulatory landscape.
Right.
Concerns about data privacy and the ever-present threat of misinformation and online toxicity.
There are definitely some big hurdles ahead, but Reddit has proven to be resilient and resourceful. Do you think they have what it takes to overcome these challenges and emerge as a dominant force in the digital world?
It's impossible to predict the future with certainty.
Sure.
But what's exciting about Reddit is that they're not afraid to experiment, to try new things, and to push the boundaries of what's possible.
They've already defied expectations.
They have.
And they may just do it again. So with that in mind, let's move to the final part of our deep dive and leave our listener with something to ponder. With everything we've talked about, about Reddit's remarkable performance and the potential challenges ahead,
Right.
here's the question that we want to leave you with.
Okay.
Do you think they can sustain this impressive growth trajectory?
It's a good question.
And what opportunities or obstacles
Right.
that they encounter in the ever-changing digital landscape?
Yeah, it's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
Reddit has a lot going for it, a dedicated user base,
Right.
a proven track record of innovation, and this knack for tapping into the power of community.
Right.
But they also face significant headwinds.
Right.
Increasing competition, evolving user expectations, and the constant pressure to monetize a platform built on free expression.
We've seen other social media giants grapple with these same challenges, so there's no guarantee that Reddit will automatically emerge unscathed. It's a complex equation with a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely. There's no magic formula for success in this space. But one thing that sets Reddit apart is their willingness to experiment,
Yeah.
to try new things, and to push the boundaries.
They haven't been afraid to adapt and evolve, which is essential in a fast-paced, ever-changing industry.
It's key.
So while there are certainly challenges ahead, I wouldn't bet against them.
I agree. They've defied expectations before, and they just might do it again. It's a story that's still unfolding, and that's what makes it so compelling.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Reddit's financial performance. We've covered a lot of ground today, from their impressive turnaround to the factors driving their explosive growth. And we've even dared to speculate about what the future might hold for them.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you, and I hope our listener has found it as insightful as we have.
We always encourage you to dig deeper, explore the sources we've discussed, and form your own conclusions about Reddit's journey ahead. The digital world is constantly evolving, and staying informed is key to navigating it successfully.
Keep that curiosity alive and never stop learning.
And with that, we'll sign off on this deep dive. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be exploring a brand new topic, and who knows what fascinating insights we'll uncover together.